Do not murder. Do not murder. We're doing a series on the Ten Commandments, and Exodus chapter 20, verse 13 says, "You shall not murder." And it's a bit like this. We've got this beautiful vase. Really precious, actually, that was. Unfortunately, it's been destroyed. And murder destroys. It destroys what is precious. And that vase was sort of all right precious. I mean, TK Maxx did a good vase. But you and me, we are infinitely precious. We are made in the image of God. We're told in Isaiah that we are precious in God's sight. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are priceless. Just absorb that for a moment. It's quite a good feeling. We're priceless. We reflect the divine imprint. Imprinted in you is something of God. And that is why you are above all the other animals. And that is why it is not our job to take the ultimate gift, the gift of life, away. No. You shall not murder. And Western civilized societies and other societies around the world have taken that Judeo-Christian ethic and made it the bedrock of their legal systems. It's because of that, because of what Christians believe, that we are made in the image of God, that actually we do not murder. So that's the end of the sermon. So that's it. You're priceless, don't murder, that's it. Good. Actually, there's more. Because 1,000 years later, this man Jesus Christ came along. 1,000 years after those words in Exodus 20:13 were written. And Jesus came along and he said, yeah, I want to add to that actually. And as was read to us, Jesus says this in Matthew 5, the Sermon on the Mount. He says, "You've heard it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, racha, is answerable to the court. And anyone says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell." You see, what Jesus is saying is this. We may be sitting here today and we're thinking, do not murder, doesn't kind of apply to me. I might have done a few things wrong in life, but I've not quite done that just yet. And what Jesus is saying is, the issue behind murder is anger. They're on the same continuum. Anger, ultimately, what it wants to do is to destroy. It wants to destroy. And the ultimate expression of destruction is murder. But Jesus is actually saying, you know where it starts? It starts with the issue of your heart, the anger in your heart. That's where it starts. And that's what we need to talk about. And come on, let's be honest. We know that, don't we? We know that murder starts with anger, don't we? I mean, have you been there when someone is going up to the barrier on the tube, and it's only then when they're at the barrier they decide that now is the time to try and find their contactless card? You're thinking, really? Really? Now? Or what about the person who, you've got your eye on that table in Costa Coffee, you're just getting to the front of the queue, you've just got your coffee, you're just about to head over, and they just swipe in and take that table. Or as I'm walking back from nursery with the buggy, the person who hasn't picked up the dog poo off the pavement, and suddenly there's poo all over the wheels, and when I get back I've got to get the wet wipes out and I've got to wipe it off. Are you trying to tell me that in that fraction of a nanosecond there's nothing in you that wants to kill them? Just for a moment. Anyone want to be a bit honest with me? Just like little fraction, nanosecond, anyone going to be... Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being honest. It's just me and you, apparently. We're the only two. No one else ever wants to kill them. But we do. And why is that? Because anger wants to destroy. And the ultimate expression of that is murder. And I want to just have a quick quiz before we go any further, because we all experience anger. And the thing is, we express it in different ways. So for some of us, we are rhinos. Now, rhinos explode. You know, when you're angry, boom, explode, slam the door, shout. Then we have hedgehogs. You implode. You take it all inside yourself. You go a bit prickly, you implode. And then you have foxes. Foxes make you feel like, actually, they're not angry at all, but they will find a way to get you back. It might be sarcastic comments, it might be some passive aggression, but they will get you back. So, come on, let's all play this game. Who here is a rhino? Any rhinos in the house? Have we got any rhinos? Got a few rhinos? A gentleman over there has just put his wife's hand up. Thank you, sir, thank you. Have we got any hedgehogs in the house? Any hedgehogs? Got a few hedgehogs? And then I'm really intrigued by this. Have we got any foxes? Any foxes? Oh, ooh, you guys. What Jesus is saying to us today is this. You need to master your anger, or your anger will master you. Let me say that again. You need to master your anger, or your anger will master you. That is what Jesus is saying to us. So how do we master our anger? Well, the first thing we do is we go fast. We go fast. Jesus says this. Therefore, if you're offering your gift at the altar and there, remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, go and be reconciled to them. Then come and offer your gift. And then he goes on. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still together on the way, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. He's saying, do it quickly, sort it out quickly. If you're angry, if you feel angry, do something about it quickly. Don't just let it brew and build up and become more and more and more. Do something about it quickly. Go and sort it out. Now, the thing about anger is it's not actually about the anger. Anger is what's called a secondary emotion. So when you feel angry, it's not about the anger itself. It's about something else going on. Think of anger like the warning light on your dashboard. It's like a red light on your dashboard. And when the red light on your dashboard comes on, you don't think to yourself, oh, I've got a faulty light on my dashboard. That's a bit weird. I need to replace the bulb in the dashboard. No, you think, that light's telling me something else is going on under the bonnet. I need to get under the bonnet, have a look and see what's going on. And that's what anger is. Anger is a light on the dashboard saying something else is going on for you. And Jesus says, work fast to work out what that is. What's the thing going on that is prompting and pushing up the anger? And there's typically three things that do that. The first is unmet needs. That often pushes on our anger. Unmet needs. Anyone here ever get hangry? Hangry. Okay. If you don't know what hangry is getting angry when you're hungry. I had a situation this week. I work here at the church, and I've got to be honest, everyone in the cafe was so annoying. I mean, all of them. Every single person. I couldn't believe the statistical likelihood of every single person being annoying that morning. Anyway, I went, I had some lunch, and they suddenly became lovely. Like really, really nice. I don't know what, I suddenly realized that the difference is me. I was hungry, which was a legitimate need, really legitimate need, and it was exhibiting itself as angry. And so one thing that can lead to anger is unmet needs. And these could be deeper than just being hungry. Maybe it's an unmet need about your accommodation, where you're living. Maybe it's a need for company. Maybe it's some need in the past in your life that you look back on and you go, that need I had was not met. I should have been nurtured back then and I never was. But actually what Jesus is saying is move fast, work out what it is. So unmet needs. Secondly, unmet expectations. Anyone here like curry? Anyone like curry? Okay. So I can highly recommend the Indian Room in Balham, great curry house. I've been going there for 9 years. They're wonderful. And my favorite thing actually is at the very end of the meal, they bring a complimentary little chocolate with the bill. And I always look forward to that chocolate. And over 9 years, they've brought me this little chocolate, and sometimes they even bring me 2. Last time I went, I've got to tell you, they didn't bring the chocolate. So anyway, I left the curry house. It was a very, very good meal. I was walking home and I thought, why am I feeling angry? They didn't bring me the chocolate. They didn't bring me the chocolate. It was an expectation, a 9-year expectation of chocolate with the bill, and they didn't bring it. And there's far deeper examples. Expectations we have in our marriage, expectation we have towards our friends, towards our bosses, our work colleagues, expectations we have of the age we're at and where we should be at this time in life, and why are we, I expect by this age that I would be owning this house or doing this or doing that. Unmet expectations press the anger button on the dashboard. And finally, threats, feeling threatened. Yesterday I went to Mud Club. I didn't know what Mud Club was until I had children. Mud Club is where you take your 2-year-old onto Clapham Common and they play in the mud with a mud kitchen. It's absolutely brilliant, I've got to tell you. And I was there with Dorothy, my 2-year-old, this was yesterday, and this 5-year-old picked up a bucket of water, he walked over to my 2-year-old and he poured the entire bucket all over her. I wanted to kill him. I felt really angry. Because it was a threat. It was a threat to my daughter. And so when his dad wasn't looking, I threw a bucket of water. No, I didn't. It might be our pride that's being threatened. It might be our reputation. Maybe it's our respect. How much knife crime is due to people saying, I was disrespected? It's important we say please and thank you to people you know. Minor courtesies really matter in life, because actually that sense of threat of I'm not being respected in who I am can lead to anger. And I hope we all want less anger in the world. So firstly, we move fast to work out what's triggering the anger. Then we move slow. Slow. Has it? Dust. Can we give him a round of applause for telling me? Right, shall I do this? Is it gone? There was another baptism today. Is it brilliant? That was a threat. That was a threat. I acted quickly. You guys are listening. We go slow. We go fast, then we go slow. It says in Psalm 103, verse 8, the Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and abounding in love. So we go fast, then we go slow. What does slow mean? I love this expression that my brother taught me. Let the emotions subside before you decide. Let the emotions subside before you decide. By acting slowly, we are acting like God, slow to anger and rich in love. You know, when we feel angry, it's right there. It's right there next to us. The lack of a chocolate after the meal, it's right there, and it looks big. If you let the emotions subside before you decide, as time passes, it's further away. What do things look like when they're further away? Smaller. As we let the emotions subside whilst we decide, we can work out, was this a mountain or a molehill? Was this a mountain or a molehill? We go slow. We slow down. God is slow to anger. We could write a letter. There's a story about Abraham Lincoln, who in the American Civil War, he had Commander Secretary Stanton as his right-hand person. And Stanton was really upset, actually, because one of the officers had been rude to Stanton. And Stanton said to Abraham Lincoln, what shall I do about it? And Abraham Lincoln said, write him a letter and cut him to pieces. Cut him to pieces in that letter. And so Stanton wrote this letter. He handed it to Abraham Lincoln. He said, what do you think? He says, you have decimated him. Brilliant. Stanton said, right, I'll send it. Abraham Lincoln said, no, you don't send it. You don't send the letter. You just write it. Allows it to just slow down and come out of your system. Throw that away now. So we're to slow down. Slow down. And there may be situations, even after we've slowed down, where prayerfully we think, I still do need to talk to that person about it. I still need to sort out what happened. And that's fine. But we do it from a place of having let the emotions subsided before we decide how we do that. So we go fast, we go slow, and then finally we go big. We go big. You know the problem for most of us? We're getting angry about chocolate. We're getting angry about 20-mile-per-hour zones. We're getting angry about the ULEZ. We're getting angry about the Apple engineer who updated our software so we don't quite know where the icon is anymore. The things we're getting angry about are too small. They don't really matter in eternity. No, what we need to do is we need to focus our anger on big things that actually matter. God gets angry about big things that matter, and he expresses his anger perfectly. And he's saying, you do the same. Did you notice I said Jesus tells us to master our anger, otherwise our anger will master us? I didn't say Jesus says get rid of our anger. He says master it. Take control of it. It's like a stallion that you need to harness and ride and aim at things that matter. The fact that people are going hungry, the fact that we have to have a debt center here and double the number of people are coming to our debt center, the fact that we've got clothes here for refugees who are based down the road, the fact that there's a food bank at the back. Yes, it's great we're doing it, but you know what? We should be angry about it. Because it's 2022 and it's the UK and it's London. What is going on? We need to get big. We need to start getting angry about the things that matter, instead of the fact that someone nicked my seat in Costa. But the problem is, it's hard, isn't it? Because right there, I'm on the edge. And the Bible says, get big, but in your anger, do not sin. Do not sin. It's a really hard balance to get. To be angry, but not to sin, you could have a brilliant cause, and you could still get angry in a way that's really destructive. And so I just want to finish with a story of a friend of mine called Hugo Foxwood. He's a vicar in Norbury. And Hugo wrote me an email 2 days ago. And Hugo used to be an investment analyst before he was a vicar. And Hugo said to me, Marcus, I've noticed that the investments that our diocese are making in their pension funds are in companies that are unethical, companies that are destroying the planet, companies that are actually in some ways supporting wars in foreign countries. And I want to campaign that our diocese invests in ethical companies. That is a really big, good thing to be angry about. But what I loved about Hugo, I watched a little YouTube he'd done on it. He didn't attack the bishop. He didn't attack personnel within the diocese. He attacked the issue, not the individual. And if we want to get big, I think what we're being called to do is to get angry with the issue, not the individual. To hate the sin, but to love the sinner. And I believe that there's some people here this morning, you're being called to get angry in a good way, in a righteous way. And we're all being called to pray the prayer, Lord, show me things you're angry about so I can get angry about them as well. So we go fast, we go slow, we go big, and finally, we go to the cross. It's not an irony lost on me that what put Jesus on that cross was the anger of the Pharisees. They hated him. They hated him. They wanted to destroy him. And it was anger that put him there. Anger destroys. But I want to finish with the good news this morning that it was on that cross that Jesus took and takes all our unrighteous anger, all the bile that we've poured out in our lives. And let's face it, I'm sure many of us have. But not just that, he doesn't take the bile that we've poured out on others, but he takes the anger that may have been inappropriately placed on you, and he takes it all upon himself. And he says, I love you. I want to take this from you. I forgive you because you are precious. Amen. I'd love to invite you.